Hey guys, Bradley, and today is the Daily Truth about war in Ukraine. And I went today to the very popular Russian news site called RIA News, which is like CNN in America. And obviously there's a lot of articles anti-Ukraine, but there's one interested me, and it was about Ukraine and its investors. So the headline goes, Angel of Death. In the USA, somebody called this new partner of Ukraine, no, partner of Zelensky, a threat to Ukraine. So, and I'm reading this article. It's published today, and it says that the American bank J.P. Morgan is looking to invest into Ukraine after the war. And it refers to Bradley Devlin as an author at the American Conservative publication. And obviously, the saying that the partner of Zelensky is interested in only prolonging war, not finishing it. And because J.P. Morgan invests into companies that produce weapons and such. And obviously, they twist it and say that's why Zelensky doesn't want peace, that's why he wants war, and all that stuff. And that's the rhetoric that I actually see more and more in America. So I went to that conservative news site, and what's interesting there is that it's called The American Conservative, the AmericanConservative.com. And there is this guy called Bradley Devlin. He was a staff reporter for the American Conservative. He was previously an analysis reporter for the Daily Caller, and has been published in the Daily Wire and the Daily Signal, among other publications that don't include the word daily. He graduated from University of California, Berkeley, with a degree in political economy. So, and I'm reading his article. So this is what he says. It is obvious that American business can become the locomotive that will once again push forward global economic growth, Ukrainian President Zelensky said in late January to address the Chamber of Commerce in Boca Raton to people such as BlackRock, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, and others. And Zelensky did not elaborate what the Ukrainian way economy is, and maybe it is corruption, right? That's written in America. Whatever it may be, JP Morgan wants more of it. Okay. On Monday, news broke that JP Morgan and Zelensky had signed a memorandum of understanding stipulating that JP Morgan would assist Ukraine in its reconstruction. A release of the meeting posted by the president of Ukraine said the parties discussed the creation of a platform for attracting private capital to rebuild Ukraine and promising direction of large investments projects in Ukraine, in particular in the sector of green energy, IT, and agricultural technologies, which is good, right? Then he says, JP Morgan executives spent a few days in Ukraine last week. They met with Zelensky and other government officials and visited a number of cities. And Zelensky and JP Morgan agreed that they would have between $20 to $30 billion private capital to help fund Ukraine reconstruction, according to Fox News. And other ideas reportedly floated in the meeting was establishing a bank run by Wall Street giants to make investments in Ukraine to make sure that they control the money in the vital projects such as infrastructure, roads, bridges, and oil refineries in Ukraine, which is in western Ukraine, by the way. So, and Zelensky said, we want to invest. I understand very well that doing business and investing cannot be beneficial to only one party. So that's why we want to make sure that everybody earns here. The Morgan Chase chairman and CEO Jamie Dimon replied, we are proud of our long-standing support of Ukraine and committed to doing our part to lift up the country and its people. The full resources of JP Morgan Chase are available to Ukraine and its charts its post-conflict path to growth. Towards the end of the JP Morgan executive's time in Ukraine, they gifted Zelensky with a New England Patriot jersey. That's that. And this is a commentary from Devlin. While JP Morgan may see itself as one of Ukraine's chief financial advisors alongside other US-based companies such as BlackRock, which also entered the memorandum to rebuild Ukraine, They are heavily invested, and that's what they call it, heavily invested more than $2.5 billion in Raytheon stock and over $1.3 billion worth of Northrop Grumman and General Dynamics stock of February 15th. So these are the stocks we're talking about, right? So, and these are the companies that produce F-16s, for example, and other things. And the commentary goes further. This doesn't mean that JP Morgan is necessarily doing anything illegal by working with the Ukrainian government while having large holdings in the US defense contractors. Rather, it serves as an indictment to incentive structures in play in our overly financialized economy. And this is key. He says, JP Morgan, BlackRock, and other financial giants can profit from prolonging the war via continued transfer of weapons and equipment to Ukraine by taking out large positions in defense contractors. At the very same time, these corporations are free to swoop in and compound their profits by investing in the reconstruction of Ukraine, a project that only seems to become larger and potentially more profitable thanks to conflict, and so on and so forth. And he finishes this sentence with, JP Morgan may consider itself Ukraine's angel investor. Maybe it's the angel of death. And that's exactly the line that Russian newspaper translates and gives a link to this article. So I found this very interesting article, and sort of, I'll tell you this. When I read this kind of article, obviously the people who write this article never been to Ukraine. I don't think they've been to Russia. I don't think this guy who wrote this, and his name is, again, Bradley Devlin, who seems to me has no experience, just graduated from university and had 2 jobs. So he has an opinion, obviously. Maybe he's a good writer. And the way he thinks is the way that Russia wants you to think. That's exactly what it is. It's not about accountability. It's not about being conservative and making sure, like, where's the money going? No. In fact, I don't think it's even a capitalistic idea, because if he's criticizing investment and actually making a profit, so I doubt he's actually capitalist. And he calls himself American conservative, right? So I would say he's probably more of a communist. That's why Russia likes him, probably. So these kind of things are very important to mention here and see not through broken glass and any prism, but straight in the mirror how it is. And I'm kind of really surprised that these young 30s, in their 30s, maybe late 20s journalists, what they call themselves, have any clue how to do anything in life. They cannot build anything. I wonder if he planted a tree in his life, or if he built a house for his dog, or anything with his hands. Has he done anything like that? I doubt it. And the danger of these writers is that they, opinion makers, published by large distributors, newspapers, the alternative newspapers, I assume, but they are shaping opinions of people, essentially giving a voice to representative in the government, and government makes decisions for them. So it's not that they write their opinion, they force an opinion onto others, and others say, oh yeah, absolutely, I don't understand what's going on, but yeah, it's how he said it, and maybe angel of death. Clearly, Ukraine lost about $1 trillion of its infrastructure by now. So in order to gain that back, it's pretty much impossible. You have to have investors and slowly build up. Okay, it takes time. And companies such as JP Morgan, BlackRock has a lot of capital to do so in order to start with something. $20 billion to start capital to build a country is actually not that much, right? Russia spends $1 billion a day on war in Ukraine. So just calculate that. The one thing for sure that Russia likes about these Bradley Devlins is that they repeat what Russia is saying. Ukraine should not have any support. Ukraine should not have any army to defend itself. Ukraine also should not have any infrastructure. Ukraine should not have borders, no schools, no television, nothing. Because they're all Nazis and they deserve to be destroyed and wiped out from this earth. That's what Russian Kremlin thinks, and that's exactly what these Devlins do. Okay, and I understand this is a conversation piece, and I want you to conversate about it. I want you to see through the prism of truth rather than prism of this skewed idea who this guy actually is and what does he want to do. There's a lot of these socialist communists that mask themselves with capitalism and look at as the American conservative. They're not. They're really not. I don't think they like capitalism. I really do. So that's an interesting story, and you guys have to be aware of it. I wasn't, but I've seen a couple of bits and people repeat, even on my Facebook page, to say, hey, Zelensky is a drug addict and things, and that's why let's kill all Ukrainians, right? So this is going to be interesting. Talk to you soon.